We're back with another episode of the Premier Planet Podcast, and I need to clear the air about something right away. Last week at the top of the show,
Before you clear the air, clear your throat or fart or whatever is coming my way, what is the date today? It's the 15th of June in the year of our Lord 2020.
That's
just
right.
for, what the fuck is the word I'm looking for, dog? Come
Reference.
on. Reference. Yeah, all right, reference. Go ahead, buddy.
So last week at the top of the show, I said it was our 19th show.
Historical reference. Go ahead, sorry.
I was one off. Last week was actually our 20th show. So because I got mixed up, we didn't mention it was our 20th podcast. So kind of a big deal there. But whatever, it's in the past. It's in the past. Can't undo it. But so this
20th
is
20th podcast.
Yeah. So this is now number 21.
21 in 2020.
Yeah. And can't wait for 21 at this point. I'm done with 2020.
So, my friend, let me start with this. Here's one of the things people don't think about. You've got your certain fans that are, and I'm not saying any of ours are, because I haven't run across many. I mean, I have, but not for a long time. And just like when we bring in shady talent or shitty talent or asshole talent, they weed themselves out just like your shitty fan will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And your fan that could be perceived as shitty or a shithead, a lot of times they'll conform because they'll go, I was wrong, I'm fucking sorry, your shit's too good, So, that being said, no, I forgot the point because I got so far in the description. Give me a second here. So, in regards to the shitty fan, okay? I just get pissed off when I see them be shitty. It's something that they could never do if they wanted to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I see your fan who thinks he can book or and they don't even really know that term, booker. You know what I mean? Or they think they're creative because they've been watching their whole lives. Now, if you think that, sweet penis, but I just don't see anybody having, in anything, not just wrestling, I don't see anybody having a right to say anything in a shitty way or an offensive way if they have no skin in the game. You understand what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
So here's the thing with the difficulty. I'm sitting here trying to put together some compelling stuff, some new stuff, and then I'm trying to apply older principles and put it all together with my own personal experiences in the ring, out the ring, outside the ring, around the ring, and in production, and try to come up with creative new stuff that is of interest, that I can push these guys to bring out the best of them that are on our talent roster. In the midst of Corona, we're still missing a third of our talent roster. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But one of the stressors, for example, July 4th is coming up. We made a pact to run every Saturday night when we started this thing however many years ago. When did we start running every night? 4 years ago?
4 years ago, 2016.
So 4 years ago. Once in a while, if a big holiday, and I would say the 4th is a big holiday, normally, but I'm talking about Easter, New Year's, you know what I mean? We'll substitute and run on a Friday. Or we'll do Friday and Saturday. What are we going to do on the 4th of July this year? Because families may be together, but not as many families because there's still people terrified of all this Corona shit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. 2, I heard from you and other sources, fireworks shows and parades and festivals are all canceled.
Yeah, because even if we go to phase 4, I think it's number 4 in Pritzker's master plan next month.
Which is basically the master plan for your strict governors across the country, really.
Right.
Okay.
But even that phase, like right now we're at only 10 people allowed in a space at a time. Oh, that phase only allows for 50. So I mean, what are you going to do? And there's the other thing too. I'm going to sidetrack myself. With the economic, I'm going to go ahead and call it a crisis. With the economic crisis that the shutdown has caused, most towns don't even or municipalities or whoever pays for it don't have the money to put on a fireworks show or a parade or anything like that. So you're not going to... What are you going to do? You can only allow 50 people into a space, and how are you going to entertain them?
And nor do your junior chambers of commerce, JCs, or chambers of commerce. There's no revenue coming in. So that being said, where does that put us for July 3rd or July 4th? And this is a stressor, man. I mean, when these people think they know what they're doing, and in talking to you and in seeing who's available when for as far as our talent roster goes, I got a wild hair up my ass earlier today after I finished the book, The Art of War. Why in the fuck don't we do Friday and Saturday, the 3rd and the 4th? Because it certainly isn't going to hurt us in our ever-growing fucking Patreon. Thank you, fucking supporters. It's building. It's a slow build. We're still in the beta process. But it's not going to hurt us if we don't draw that good Saturday or Friday, if we have all that extra content to put in our subscription, YouTube, and, of course, Patreon.
Mm-hmm. And they deserve to be rewarded because this last week, we hit our first milestone. We got 10 patrons, which sounds like a low number, but I mean, considering that we're still in, as you say, the beta testing phase.
We really are, man, and that's where you got to be patient with this stuff, So, back to the asshole fan, who I don't even really think is a fan. Again, no skin in the game, and not even sometimes an emotional investment. You know what I mean? So, we do Friday, we do Saturday. What if we don't draw but 10 people both nights? You're going to hear the nyuk, nyuk, nyuckers. You know what's funny, too? Now I'm going to say this. What a lot of your, and I know this to be true, your asshole fans end up doing is being the idiots that don't pay or pay the lowest possible thing so they can get in the ring and say they're a worker, too, by the way. And I think that's a big part of your indie population or overall talent roster, you know what I mean? And that's not skin in the game because you don't know shit. You didn't pay due one, you know what I mean? So, that being said, the bigger picture is this. Even if we draw shit, and when we draw shit, old Rand takes the fucking hit. You know what I mean? Old Rand can't afford to take the fucking hit at the end of the day. But old Rand's number one priority is to get these guys more matches than the other idiots out there so they can all rise above, stand heads above when WWE starts looking. If and when Japan starts looking. If and when I can put together some sort of deal with the Mexican wrestling company. Do you know what I'm saying? Today, and this is for your asshole fan, your regular fan, somehow these guys, they have in their heads these indie superstars or indie stars or indie veterans. I've been around this long. How many matches have you had? That's what they ask you. And they asked you that from the day I walked in the industry to the day I started training before I got my first booking. How many matches have you had? But today they do that. If you're working twice a month for 10 years, how many matches is that?
Twice a month, so that's 24 times a year.
Okay. Times 10, 240.
Yeah, 240 matches in a decade.
So our guys will get that in 3 years or less just working for us. And it's not against people that they can't learn anything from. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's pushing them. They're going out there no one's teaching them anything. They're not learning anything. They're just going out there willy-nilly with the blind leading the blind, trying to get all their shit in. Their goal is to outwork the guy they're working with, not work with the guy they're working with, and that's how you get this indie shit. Mm-hmm. You know,
I think you say get your shit in.
That's what they do. That's what they do. Prince Abibu, and I'm going to say Prince Abibu. You could figure out who Prince fucking Abibu is, but someday Prince Abibu, who is in a semi-prominent position in the industry today, they're going to see through it if they don't already and overlook it because of ethnicity. That's what Prince Abibu's whole thing was. He wants to go out there, rush, outwork the poor bastard he's working with so he can knock the shit out of him, and then have him come back in the locker room and look like the locker room general to feed his own fucking low self-esteem and ego, and then beat him up emotionally after a physical beating. Problem with that is he almost broke two young guys' necks. You know? Yeah. So when you gotta consider that. You know what I mean? Your educated fan, your shitty fan, I don't think he can. Figure that out or give a shit or give an ounce of respect about it. They can give lip service to it, but they're not going to give an ounce of respect about it.
Yeah, kind of guys like that. It kind of makes me wish, we were 20 years in the past when You had real locker room generals, guys like, just off the top of my head, The Undertaker.
That's why he got that long-term deal. There's an example right there. I see shitty fans. I don't see much, brother, because I unfollow jagoffs. But some people that are like borderline jagoffs, I don't unfriend them. I unfollow them, so I don't see it. But I'm still seeing this blowing up of, oh, why would Vince sign that long-term deal with the old-ass Undertaker? He looked like he half dead for real. Because of the locker room general. He knows it's an investment in the future, and there is nobody around today with the wherewithal or has the manner of the way that motherfucker, the Undertaker, Mark Callis, can interact and help with talent.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just imagining a lot of these indie guys who consider themselves to be locker room generals, if they were to get to WWE back in, say, 1998, 1999, and run afoul of The Undertaker, it would be such a different story.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about one of our areas, the general, the booker, the veteran, the respected, whatever the fuck, in certain circles. Okay? Let's talk about one of them. That you can figure it out if you read between the lines, but I'm not going to go ahead and throw the direct name out there. He did work for World Wrestling Entertainment once for a 2-day shot. And it was funny because I was watching all these guys, and they were all short, they were all idiots, they were all too small. This one in particular was wearing a mullet 5 to 7 years after the mullet was way gone. This motherfucker had a kicking ass mullet. I mean, he put Bobby Eaton's motherfucking mullet to shame. You know what I mean?
Back when the mullet was cool. Where was it on the scale of Bobby Eaton to Brian Lee? That's the question.
Fucking, it had them both beat. You know what I mean?
Because that Brian Lee's mullet back in the day, holy shit.
Oh my God, it looked like a motherfucking Clydesdale's tail, honest to Christ. Let's say this, that mullet was so fucking bad that he got worked. He didn't know it because I saw him and the guys he was with, they'd all been broken in about the same year. And they were like stepping on each other's fucking heads going, well, I broke in October of that year. You broke in August, so I got more time. Watch them. These motherfuckers are almost fucked up like being a motherfucking druid. And I just sat back and said, man, I'm going to keep my head down and be the last motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to get involved in that.
No, I got a good name up here. I'm not going to ruin that. But it was funny to watch them argue with each other. They didn't bark at each other, you know. They'd all been working then once a month up to that point for 3 to 5 years, 7 years, whatever the fuck it was. Which ain't shit. But anyway, that's what happened. And then I was starting to not want to do WWE stuff anymore. Mostly because I couldn't go to work for them. So this had to be about 95, because 93 I was one of 30 matches out of 300 guys that they were looking at that was considered for a spot. And the only one that voted against me had all the juice at the time, and that was motherfucking Pat Patterson, you know. But anyway, so I know what I know, but I still don't want no heat because I like being how I was with the company, and my business was taking off. I was doing fucking outstanding, better than I would have done for Vince. You know what I mean? At the time, being a smaller guy. And I showed, and Tony Gurria and Chief J. Strongbow were grateful that I showed, because a lot of times I wouldn't show. And then they call and say, where are you? And I would say, well, these guys that I sent, trust me, you have what you need. This one's good at this, that one's good at that. Will you trust me? And then it would work out, so they trust me. But then they always say that when they call me, then they kept calling me to book guys for them and say, you'll be showing up, right? You know what I mean? I wouldn't answer direct. And it was kind of okay because I would do it as a rib back to Chief, you know? And he was okay with that. It was shtick, you know? I enjoyed it. I like Chief J. Strongbow as a person, too. But anyway, so Tony says, hey, they got this weird fucking combination. It ain't going to fucking work, but whatever. They want to try it. They got Taka Michinoku against JBL when they were trying to reincarnate a Stan Hansen with JBL. The problem with that is I believe JBL was broken in Dallas underneath Sweet Daddy Falcone and another guy. Whoops. When Sweet Daddy Falcone was recovering from a fucking knee reconstruction, man, that poor guy had so much done to his knee before they had the technology that they have today. He wasn't ready, but he was a fucking giant. And he knew he wasn't ready, so they tried to do too much of him. He said, so here's the thing. You can go ahead and do all that high-flying crap that you do with Taka, Then the other guy is the guy I'm telling you about, the sweet mullet. He's going to get his fucking lunch handed to him, or his ass handed to him. He's going to get his lunch ate by JBL. I said, whatever, man, I trust you. You know, $250 spends the fucking same. You know what I mean? Yep. I know how to protect myself, and if I get hurt, he'll win by count out. You know what I mean? So, then he came up to me and said, fuck that. I got you out of that nightmare. Tonight you're working with this other kid who, he's been on this per night deal. He's not under a real contract. Make it or break it. But anyway, I'm going to put him with you because we got to see if we can get a good match out of him before we decide to fire him. And that was Edge, you know, in a dark match. So I says, God, whatever you say, man, you know. So this guy got the fucking shit knocked out of him by JBL. And to this day, wears it as a feather in his cap and refers to the one time or 1.5 times that he worked for WWF, I guess it would have been then, as a feather in his cap and a qualification for training and being around so long. You know what I mean? That's the shit I went through when I first broke in. First year in the business, I had the powers of pain fucking twice. That was part of paying dues. But I certainly wasn't walking around like a big shot and trying to reinvent the wheel when it came to carrying the motherfucking flames or carting the goddamn casket down with Undertaker. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So this motherfucker, whatever, suck my ass. You know what I mean? You know, and that's the difference. And that's why I appreciate this. With the Patreon, for example, it's always a risk, but it's always sweat equity. And one thing that I do know how to do is create something from nothing, you know? And I'm not lying to you guys about stuff, but I'm trying to tell you this stuff for the integrity of the business, you know? Because I believe, and our subscribers on Pivot Share, our subscribers on YouTube, and our Patreon patrons have a certain integrity about them and appreciate integrity, obviously, because they're spending their time and investing their emotions into us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I thought that was pretty cool revelation to come to today. Say, fuck it. If I have to sit on that shit, and maybe it takes a while for Patreon to get more patrons to cover the losing night or both losing nights, I'm willing to put in that sweat equity to get our guys more matches. And those guys showing up, that's the difference between indie wrestling and pro wrestling. You know what I mean? You got to bite the bullet sometimes and sacrifice. Even though I've been around as long as I have, I'm going to do that because my emotional investment is in these son of a bitches, and my emotional investment is in you fans. I'm trying to find the way to meet everybody halfway and hope that they meet me halfway back. And if they do, the talent and our patrons and our viewers and subscribers and everybody, well, I'll be okay. You know what I mean?
It's a team effort. It's a team effort all the way. And it doesn't stop at the roster. It stops with our loyal fans, too. Mm-hmm. Our people who put their... You know, every dollar you guys spend on us, be it through Patreon, be it through Pivot Share, or be it on a T-shirt, you know, it's a show of faith.
We got a new shirt. Check out the new retro shirt.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. It looks... I actually, you know, I told those guys who designed it, you know, it looks so much like something you would have seen back in the 80s in the territories.
Yeah. It's a cross between Georgia Championship, NWA, UWF, AWA, Mid-Atlantic. It's a nice shirt. It's a cool fucking shirt. I like it. I like it better than the old hieroglyphic graphic one that we had, you know?
Yeah, and it's light blue, which is a color we haven't had yet. So if you're what do they call those? A colorophile? No.
What the hell's that?
That's somebody who's afraid of clowns.
Oh.
but somebody who enjoys color. Yeah, we got
pastel.
It's a new pastel. Yeah, there you go.
It's a unisex shirt then.
Yeah.
Do they still have a difference between girl sizes and guy sizes in T-shirts or no?
I don't know about sizes. Fit they do.
Do we?
No. Actually, I'd have to double check on Pro Wrestling Tees, but I think we've got a couple. Or no, you know what? Pro Wrestling Tees, they let you choose your size, cool. And if you want it printed on, like, you know, if you're a woman and you want it like a woman's cut, You know, I think because it's a unique cut, they charge you like $3 extra or something. But the option's there.
But it's like fitted.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
now I get it.
But other than that, it's all the ones that are on display that you see when you're scrolling through the catalog. Those are all unisex.
Now I get it. Okay. Well,
but you have the options. You're not stuck with the unisex.
See, it's a good thing you said that, so I understand it, but more importantly, so our patrons understand it too. You know.
Yeah. Well, especially because we're tossing around that idea of starting that shirt of the month club for Patreon.
Yes, and I mean let's hash it out in front of the people. So my thinking is we got a lot of shirts. For a certain tier, you can save them $1 or $2 off of their purchase from Pro Wrestling Tees. Then we could save them $1 or $2 from the Patreon too at the same time. And then get sponsorship to where it balances itself out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So everybody's happy, right?
Where the ends justify the means.
Yeah. And then I was thinking, I don't know if you would put it into the same thing or a different thing, where you could even we can give a discount for our subscription too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A percentage or a couple of bucks, or probably $1. We're going to have to bump up our pivot share, because of this Corona stuff. But it's not going to be crazy, and it's a justifiable increase because $4.99 with 2 weeks free wasn't the business model to begin with. That was to get people in there and then hopefully keep you guys, which I think we will if we increase it by $1 only a month, $5.99 instead of $4.99. Well, I think we're going to keep most of the thing. But based upon other companies on there that are doing it for a hell of a lot more, and I'm not going to say we have the most, but we have a lot of fucking content on Pivot Share. You know what I mean? So we're going to make it worth your while. So that's what we got to do is just figure that out, and then we'll put those together. Where the way we can get you a discount is, if we can't get a discount from Pro Wrestling Tees direct, except for when they're doing their specials. But what we can do is give it to you $1 or $2 off a shirt off of our end. You know what I mean? So we would send it to you, and I think that would kind of be cool because, of course, you can request the certain shirts first that you would want, But after that, wouldn't it be kind of cool to get, the shirt of the month, and this month's a surprise once we have your size and everything?
Yeah. There's
wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Yeah, well, there's something that I don't know when it started, but it seems to be pretty popular. It's called Pro Wrestling Crate, where basically you sign up for the subscription service and they send you like a box of stuff, but you never know what's going to be in it.
You asshole, like a grab bag. So what's that through?
I wish I could.
All right,
remember.
We'll get you more information. You asshole, why are you holding on to that? When you get this stuff in, shoot the old boy a fucking link. Shoot the old boy something, copy and paste it, and we can put our heads
accuses
together.
me of sitting on stuff, but I don't think of it till it comes up.
Yeah, I know, me either.
But he's got more gray matter than he gives himself credit for, and I've got slightly less than he gives me credit for. I'm just below that genius line he thinks I'm at.
But anyway, point I'm trying to make is, hey man, don't be shy. You can send me that shit in the middle of the night so I can refer to it whenever. You know what I mean?
Well, you know me. When I think about something, I'll shoot it your way.
Cool, sweet peen.
Yeah,
sweet penis. That's the abbreviation. So let's talk about last Saturday night. What the fuck stood out to you from last Saturday night?
Well, we had more of the roster back together. We saw Mark Smith finally make his return. He made the trip from Michigan, so God bless him for doing that. He wrestled 2 matches.
What stood out?
What stood out to me was, that Olympiad freestyle match between Inestra and Tim Castle.
How come?
Which is going to be available on Patreon this week.
How come it stood out?
Because those Olympiad freestyle matches, with it being such a new concept,
it's fucking
the one thing that gets me excited about it is that because it's starting out, it's going to get better and better and better each and every time, and it does.
It does.
And it does. And all kudos to Inestra, who's never been in one of those point style matches before. He and Castle, I mean, I feel like they burned it down. 15 minutes.
It was fucking great because, Inestra was in front the whole fucking time by 5 to 7 points. And that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's a fucking elevated catches can or matched based on points. That's motherfucking compelling. But anyway, he was ahead on points most of that match, making Tim fucking chase him. And Tim's whole thing is he loves the Japanese style with a strong amateur background. and that motherfucker actually had to pin Inestra, which you got to see how that shit occurred. It was fucking so exciting, and even this time doing it with a crowd there, in light of the coronavirus, it's going to work. It's really going to elevate itself.
I looked out at the crowd a couple of times during that match, and their eyes, their eyes were just glued.
And they were fucking with me too, because I was commentating with you. And some parts I was excited, so I would get loud. They would correct me and say, no. They'd correct me on the points. I'm like, wow, they're following this shit more than I am.
Yeah.
And it was my idea. You know what I mean? So that was a really good, for sure, sign there.
Mm-hmm. And that that tumbleweed pin they did, where they scored like 3 points apiece.
It was fucked up, man. I couldn't keep up. That's where it lost me.
And this was...
fucked up in a good way.
This was the first time that one of these freestyle matches didn't go the full length of the time limit, because we actually saw a pin.
Yeah,
we saw a pin.
Stopped the clock at 13, probably, right?
Something like that. We were within the last 5 minutes, and Tim Castle was able to roll up Inestra and pick up the first pin that we've ever had in an Olympiad freestyle match.
Now, how about that fucking tag match with Gosling and Inestra versus the kids?
To be honest, I love DeMarcio. I love Charlie Hustle. I love the heart. I love the talent. Yeah. I did not give those two guys enough credit for their ability to hang with Chase Gosling and Inestra.
Now, see, this is what I'm talking about, and you just proved my point. Right now, based as of last Saturday. On last Saturday night, Charlie Hustle and DeMarcio were at a higher level than 2/3 of these people out there in the Indies that claim to be indie vets. Mm-hmm. And that's because the way they train and the way they are booked.
And did you hear the crowd reaction for Charlie Hustle? His second professional match in front of a live crowd.
Third.
Now, last week would have been the first in front of a live crowd, wouldn't it?
I don't fucking know. Okay, whatever you say. You're better with that. So who gives a fuck? Second or third?
Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
Anyway, Jesus Christ. I've never seen those two little assholes look more confident.
Oh my God.
Ever.
It was do the kids still say it was fire?
Man, it was fire as fuck. They had a lot of fire. And also, man, the confidence. And that's what I gay off for. I love to watch motherfuckers develop like that. Mm-hmm. I really do. The look of pride on their faces, and they went into that match thinking they probably weren't going to win with the size difference and the experience difference. But they fucking made a strong showing. That's what it's really about, to turn some fucking heads. And the fans met them more than halfway, which was awesome because they were both totally out of their shells,
Well, when the challenge came down, it wasn't about winning. It was about them making a name for themselves and getting people to pay attention, and they did.
It flips me out, and maybe you could even post this in the teaser. Well, let's see if I can do something to... That doesn't matter. You ever heard of the movie Angus?
Yeah.
Did you see the movie Angus?
I didn't see it, but I know of it.
You gotta fucking see Angus, and I bet some of our patrons have seen that movie Angus. And that's what it's about. I'm fucking here. I fucking count. I fucking matter. You know what I mean? Love that shit. And that's what we got out of those two. And, take nothing away from Gosling and Inestra, or Gosling and Inestra as a team. What entertaining motherfuckers, creative motherfuckers, innovative motherfuckers. And Gosling is as strong as a country horse that knows how to fucking train. He knows how to fucking weight train, box jump. And he does so well for a guy that can fluctuate at will between 250 and 270 pounds today at 6'4" with no fucking steroids based upon the month and a half,
Yeah, he's built like a tree. That's why he calls himself the hunk with the tree trunks. The man is built like a tree.
It depends on what he's going for. Even when he gets up to 270, he don't look fucking fat.
No.
And it happens. I'm not kidding you, Vince. It's a gift, and he's got to capitalize on it now. It's a gift, because even when he shoots up from 250 to 270, he's not fat. You know what I mean? He can still move. That's a gift, and it also comes in being smart with your training and diet as well,
Yeah.
So we put that stuff over, which we'll put it all over, but I want to know what stands out. And I especially want that point system to stand out, because That's what you guys are getting for patronizing us. You know what I mean? You're going to love it. I promise. Mm-hmm. That fucking match is worth more than what we're asking for in the tiers. You know what I mean? Just that match this month. But, again, eventually, we're going to fucking... it's going to, you know, pay for itself. You're going to meet us halfway. Main event.
Oh, my fucking God. The Iron Man. Jose Acosta and Matt Vine.
Now, let me say, again, in the past, Iron Man matches for television, Iron Man matches for pay-per-view were few and far between. In the territory, 88, 89, when I was working in Dallas and I was working for USWA in Memphis, it was not uncommon to go 30 minutes a night. You know what I mean? You really had to learn to fucking work to keep people emotionally invested for that long and be compelling. Today, I honestly believe your average match length is 8 minutes, even with the fucking indies and WWE on television, you know? Unless you're talking about a big event with Japan that I've seen, you know? But anyway, the Iron Man can be a tedious motherfucker, you know? And it hasn't been done right since the late 80s, possibly early 90s, with exception of a few in the early 90s. Well, fuck that noise, man. Fuck that noise. We're making it a compelling. And the guys are stepping up. The wrestlers that wrestle in these matches are stepping up to the task to do Iron Man as a regular fucking thing and even call it a King of the Iron Man. Who is Matt Vine, who holds the plaque. That fucking match between him and Jose Acosta, now I'll shut up and let you speak.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. And ended by a double knockout.
Holy balls, that's right, there wasn't a winner. Vine retained, but the door is open for a rematch, which will happen probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks because Jose wants that shit.
Yeah. But, so this week, Vine's going to be teaming with Tim Castle to take on Inestra and Chase because they gave Tim Castle a beatdown after he beat Inestra in that Olympiad freestyle match.
Yeah.
We're also going to have Not Bad Chad and Pancho, the man who puts the panic in Hispanic, in a lumberjack match because Pancho weaseled his way into giving Chad a victory by countout.
That's going to be entertaining as all hell.
Oh, God, yeah.
Say what you want about Pancho, but goddamn, he entertains me.
Oh, he's brilliant.
You know?
Just a natural-born entertainer. Give him credit where it's due.
And fucking Chad is really starting to show his colors and develop too, man. Look at how fucking much how his growth in the last 12 months. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, and his conditioning, it gets better and better each and every time. And I think you even said Chad is not a workout fiend. Every bit of muscle, every calorie of fat that he burns off in the ring.
Yep, but he watches his diet very careful. That guy's got to be down almost 60 pounds since he tried out and didn't think he could fucking do this.
Yeah.
But he fucking made up his mind and said, fuck that. No one's going to tell me I can't do this. I'm going to get in fucking shape. And he did it. And he keeps doing it. And it's a process, you know. This guy lost 60 pounds with not in excess of loose fucking skin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now he's got a nice base to work with, and he's working with it. And I think he surprises himself sometimes with his fucking athleticism, you know?
He's deceptive. You take a look at him, and especially if you're an indie tard, you probably take a look at the guy and say, like, look at him, he's got no muscle mass, he's got a little belly on him. He is so athletic, and he pulls shit right out of his ass.
And really, a storytelling motherfucker. His charisma is fuck. Another one, man. He entertains the ever-loving shit out of me and the fans. You know? Yeah. Plus, his fucking beard game is around.
Oh, yeah. You know? Oh, yeah.
So, I was thinking today about the thumbnail that will get people to click. You know, where are we on this thing? How many minutes in?
About 35.
Oh, sweet peen.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about paying homage, you know, to people. And let's face it, I mean, at the end of the day, undeniably, Shawn Michaels is, you know, one of the best innovators in the ring, you know, in the history of the business. He really was. You know what I mean? Great mind for it. I always will respect that and respect him as a worker. I mean, fuck's sake, I was stealing his shit See, when I was in Memphis, I would steal his shit, Kurt Hennig shit, Rick Rude shit, Jusha Thunder Liger shit, because in Memphis, they didn't watch any other wrestling. So it got over. Neither did the guys, so they thought I was a genius. You know what I mean? But anyway, not really. I would steal their shit, then make it mine, knowing full well that most of the shit was stolen from somewhere else, made theirs, you know? So it was, you know, it's not like I'm fucking, what do you call that shit when you steal somebody's copy? It wasn't infringement, you know?
Yeah, but isn't that, I mean, since the very beginning, isn't that what pro wrestling really is? Some guy creates something, another guy adds to it, and then they add to it, then another person adds to it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, it's you know, it's not. So I've never seen that as, you know.
No.
I mean, are you really ripping off the first guy, whoever did a headlock, by doing a headlock?
Did Ric Flair rip off Buddy Rogers? Did Buddy Landell rip off Ric Flair? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? No.
Yeah,
yes,
and
yes and no.
and most of those guys who don't have a huge ego, at least, will tell you that, like, no, I took a little bit from this guy, I took a little bit from this guy. Jesse Ventura openly admits that his whole gimmick was based on superstar Billy Graham.
He said we all wanted to be superstar Billy Graham. And Hogan, I think, has admitted that before, too.
Yeah.
He was the shit. What a promo. What a body. What an innovator, you know. God damn, I mean, I don't know if a guy that big, if you look at the first fucking batch of matches between him and Bruno, I believe they went back and forth with the belt at least once, maybe more. Oh, the crowds that they drew. But anyway, a guy at 270 pounds, legit, 24-inch arms, bump like that motherfucker could bump, in addition to the fucking walking and talking. Unbelievable.
Well, that promo he cut, I don't remember what year it was, but I know he had the belt, and it just ends with him, you know, doing that. And I think it's become legendary now, the line, you know, where he's just holding the belt. I am the champion. I am the greatest. And I mean, if that's not a basis for so many promos now.
Well, Dusty too. Him and Dusty were definitely innovators of the promo. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. So what I want to talk about, since I brought up Shawn, is and he should get more propers than he fucking gets, is Marty Jannetty. Shawn Michaels would not have achieved half of what he achieved if it weren't for fucking Marty. What a fucking worker, man. A guy who could have a match with any fucking buddy. A guy who I saw footage on not too long ago actually working. It's got to be in his early 60s.
He's around the same age as Shawn. So Shawn is 55, I want to say. So
yeah, Shawn's
Marty's got it. Marty's got to be closing in on 60.
Yeah, and Marty was in the industry longer. Marty is second generation, although I never went too far into his history with it. I've worked with fucking Marty, man, and I'll never forget it. He was somewhere the night before, and he got in, and it was in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And Marty was sleeping at the National Guard Armory. You know, and I didn't stress much because I knew Marty. I never worked with Marty before, but I watched his shit. He watched my shit. We've cut up and talked and communicated, whatever the fuck. At the end of the day, I was a younger guy, but Marty knew I had a fucking clue. You know what I mean? So Marty woke up as his music was playing, because I didn't fucking want to harass him. Say, sir, is there anything you'd like to do tonight? Can we talk about our match? Because it's the last thing these motherfuckers want to do is that kind of shit. We'll work it out in the fucking ring. That's how it goes. You know what I mean? Marty knew that. He came up from fucking Memphis, Kansas City, and other territories. AWA for Vern. You know what I mean? You're in separate locker rooms, you know? Fucking, you know, Marty just said, hey, brother, you lead the dance. We went out there and it was fucking magic, dude. You know? It was fucking magic. You know, it was probably 17 to 20 minutes. Unbelievable. Marty looked like he was his fucking prime. And physically he did as well. You know what I mean? So I wish that, you know, if you had a Marty Jannetty, a sober Marty Jannetty, the proof is in the pudding when you see how he helped develop fucking Shawn. If you had a sober, clean Marty Jannetty, okay, imagine what he could do with the young fucking flyers on Vince's roster today as an agent.
Mm-hmm. I remember. See, I didn't watch wrestling when Marty was, or when the Rockers were still together.
Well, fuck, you're probably three. Oh wait, for Vern or for Vince?
for either.
How old were you?
I started watching at 7, and this was in 93, so they had just split up. Sean was...
How old were you in 93?
7.
Okay, well, that makes sense, you know?
But what I'm saying is, until, I got access to the tape library through... First through YouTube, for people posting on YouTube, and then through the network, and got to actually see Sean and Marty work together against, especially against guys like...
Rose and
Summers, thank you. Phenomenal tag team workers. But when I started watching, Sean was, he was in the middle of his first major singles push. But I remember Marty. Marty did stand out to me, and at that point, I was more, being a kid, being a 7-year-old, I was more drawn to the colorful characters. So my eyes were drawn to guys like Yokozuna and Lex Luger.
They weren't pushing Marty then.
Yeah.
If they would have done it right, and Sean and Marty in their heyday, they did a lot of fucked up shit. Sean and Marty both did fucked up shit. But the unholy gaggle of predators didn't like Marty. So when Sean said it was him, it was me. I took that from the Warriors. Remember the Warriors? It was them. So the Warriors shot Cyrus, man. He fucking threw Marty under the bus for the same sick shit he was doing, and Marty fucking got fucked for it, man. Do you know how much money could have been made with a proper, drawn-out Sean versus Marty feud when you finally break up the fucking Rockers?
They really did drop the ball with that. And
do you know how outstanding those matches would have been, considering the work rate of both of those motherfuckers?
Oh, yeah. You take two guys who were a phenomenal tag team, and then you put them against each other with the same skill set. I remember Marty standing out to me because I remember he would run to the ring with, in just the bright neon colors with the streamers, and I'm just this guy's, he's not the size of a Lex Luger or a Hulk Hogan or, any of the big main eventers of the time, but my God, is this guy energetic.
Now, see, that part was fucked up, too, because it was a weird time in the industry when it came down to size. Within that time range, what did you say, 93?
93 is when I started watching.
So, okay, there we go. 93. I was one of 300 guys that they had requested. They asked you to send in your fucking tape. 30 out of 300 were up for a second viewing. I was in there. Same size as Marty. You know what I mean? And I was told by my agent then, who was Sergeant Slaughter, you're the only one in there that's a smaller fucking statue. So that's amazing. It looks good already for you. You know what I'm saying? Why cover Marty? He was the same size. He looked great. He is a thicker guy. And he worked against Buddy Rose, who was 270, and Doug Summers, who was 260. You know what I mean? With their shirt off. Let them work with their shirt off because they didn't look small, and it made it look even better. Marty and Sean both had better bodies than fucking Ricky and Robert. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. When they did that shit, when the company started to change, all that did was fucking point out, hey man, look how small they are, man. So never take them seriously because they're not going to be top guys. They're small. You know what I mean? So they kind of killed off themselves with that shit and kind of took for granted because of personalities and other motives. They discredited the talent of that guy. So you looked at it like, well, this little guy's okay. He's got a lot of energy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Instead of just, let's not point to the motherfucking obvious. You know?
Yeah, now my eyes are open because of hearing you talk about it, plus my own perspective of being a kid at the time. And it's like, well, I guess they accomplished what they set out to do.
Yeah, they fucking made him look smaller, less than, substandard. And then they elevated Sean with the other shit. And I'm going to say it, I thoroughly believe it's because of the predators that had juice. You know what I mean? And Sean's ability to take advantage of that, you know what I mean, of the situation and run with the ball, you know? Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. Like, you know me, I don't give up on people, you know? And if I'm Sean, and I know what I know in my heart of hearts, of what Marty has done for me, I don't try once or twice. I stay on that motherfucker to get his shit together and actually try to make a difference in that man's life. He would be one of the best agents they could have, World Wrestling Entertainment, for NXT, SmackDown, or Raw. The guys love him. He has no enemies in the business. The only one that I know of that ever said any ill words about him was fucking Shawn. Because everybody else loves fucking Marty. And Marty was one of those guys, just like an Owen Hart. Fuck, man. I mean, you put your fate in Eddie Guerrero's hands, Owen Hart's hands, okay? You know, Marty, Owen Hart, Eddie Guerrero are going to make you look better than you can. You know what I mean? They're just unselfish, hard-working, fun-loving motherfuckers. You know, Vince would give his left nut for an Eddie Guerrero today. I wish and hope Marty could you know, get his shit together, because what a contribution he could make at this stage. I don't know if you've seen the guy. Like, I see him on social media. We're friends, and sometimes we fuck with each other a little bit. He looks like he's 40. You know, this motherfucker, you know?
I did look it up. He actually is 60.
Okay, 60?
He's got 5 years on Shawn.
Look at him. Look at him, motherfucker.
Yep.
In his current shit, he looks 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know? He's just got so much to bring to the table. And I just wanted to pay that kind of tribute. Maybe smarten up. Even guys like you, because you probably learned stuff, not for not being a jagoff run, just because of your age, about, you know, the value of Marty. The other thing I wish that people could see is the old territory fucking video, you know, not only from the TVs, but the house show, you know. Memphis was a breeding ground. I can only imagine what Marty did, what Marty learned, what Shawn and Marty did in fucking Memphis. You know what I mean? The house shows for Vern. Shawn Michaels could not have been put in a better position than to be teaming with Marty Jannetty against guys like Rose and Summers at that time. At that time, they were the last thing that memory serves that actually drew houses for Vince. I mean, Vern. For Vern Gagne and AWA was that fucking tag team feud, which lasted at least a year and change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the stuff that I wish was still on video, because, you know, I'd be showing our fucking guys that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, Marty Jannetty definitely deserves I mean, the guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He really does.
Wouldn't that be something? You know, if Marty could get a fucking Hall of Fame induction and then a nice job with the fucking office that comes with it, oof. But I know he's probably got to do a little bit of footwork and cleaning up his act too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that we haven't lost him. But goddamn, I just still think he's got another decade of major contributing to this industry. Honestly. You know? All your guys that they hired that have that educated fan following would know what they're doing, when to do it, and why they're doing it out there in the fucking ring and elevate. Because ever since they hired him, they lost a goddamn smart mark following, and these fans can't tell the difference between those four top tards because they all look the same. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Marty would be able to accelerate them, and they'd have to listen to him. And Marty wouldn't have to fight to get them to listen to him because of the type of guy that he has been. He's a decent fucking human being. He's a good fucking man. Again, the only one I've ever heard talk shit about Marty Jannetty is fucking Shawn. You know, now I know they've patched their shit up so it's somewhat peaceful, but again, if Shawn's a real man of God, that means that we're supposed to be fucking useful. You know, a Christian, he's supposed to be useful. He's supposed to go, he's supposed to be able to say at the end of the day, was I thinking of myself most of the time? Or was I thinking about what I could do for others, of what I could pack into the stream of life? Put some pressure on a guy that deserves it, not just because he deserves it, but because he has so much to bring to the table right now. Cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So go ahead and lay that Marty shit on there with the thumbnail, if you don't mind, because I think that will get people to click on it, look, and you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. And you know, it's so sad that Marty has been so swept under the rug. And like you said, I mean, a lot of it's probably due to his own personal demons. A lot of it's probably due to his own doing. But I mean,
it's a combination of both. I mean, of course, I've never heard him pass the buck, you know, and I'm sure he'd be the first one to be responsible for his actions. But at the time that they chose Shawn over Marty, they were both fucking dirty. You know what I mean? The things that Marty was accused of are the same fucking thing Shawn was doing. And worse, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to what you said, I mean, how much drawing power would that have had to put them into at least give them a few months to work a feud?
Yeah.
Maybe back then, since they were only running 4 pay-per-views a year, give them a couple of pay-per-views because they put the IC strap on Marty at one point. I think he held it for like a week or two. Yeah. But they could have passed that belt back and forth quite a few times.
Well, let's talk about it again. Vern was running in his last few markets that fucking drew, and what a odd fucking handful of markets. You know what I mean? They feuded Rose and Summers against the Midnight Rockers for over a year. Then Vince scooped them. What if Vern could have stepped up a little bit? He could have really taken advantage of a Shawn versus Marty angle and Drew for another year. With that, you know what I mean? Vince could have too. You know what I mean? It's a damn shame because at the end of the day, it's the fans that lost out on that one.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what always hurts is when the fans lose. I mean, I went off early last week, and you read what I posted, just laying into the stupid indie business. At the end of the day, it's the fans who are being robbed.
Yeah.
And you were talking about, what the average match goes now if it's 8 minutes. It's like, yeah, WWE tries to cram a lot of stuff in, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Most of their guys, most of their roster, men and women, can be given 8 minutes and be compelling.
Sure.
Because you have to be compelling to get to that level.
Sure.
All these indie companies who are trying to do that, they're trying to cram 9-10 matches into a 2-3 hour show. It's because they have this mentality of quantity over quality.
Yeah.
And that's what sets us apart.
And also they where they get the cheap pops from is they do a generic half-speed version of everybody else's fucking moves. That's not going anywhere, and it's also pointing to the obvious. Hey man, I'm a garbage pail version of my favorite NXT guy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just like putting Marty in a fucking shirt. You know what I mean? It's pointing to the obvious, you know? The other thing is and I should do more of this. I mean, it really pisses me off. There's a lot of guys on roster that are cunt-alike. I'm not going to say cunts. Cunt-alike. Is that okay?
No, go ahead. It's a paid podcast for Patreon. If anybody's got a problem, I mean, if you don't understand what's going to come out of this man's mouth by now, you haven't been listening.
Well, the difference between cunt and cunt-like, you're a cunt, no fucking hope for you if I call you a cunt or think you're a cunt in my mind, you know? Cunt-like means watch, you could change, but if you step over that cunt line too far, now you're a fucking cunt, get out of my sight. I don't have the energy for you anymore, you know? So, I have never pushed anyone to sell fucking tickets, you know? And here's the thing with the fucking indies. They force you to sell tickets. I just saw or heard of some stupid shit where they're like, hey man, go work for this other Chicago promotion. That a guy that used to work here that, dipped out. He didn't dip out he dipped out because of his own demons, you know what I mean? And I tried. You know some of it, me trying to capitalize off the kid's talent and motivate him, but at the end of the day, you can't want it more for people. You can't want more for people than they want for themselves, even your own fucking children. It's so painful. It's such a painful lesson I learned over and over again. But anyway, I was like, yeah, he could go work there, but they would literally hand him 12 tickets at $20 a piece and say, sell these. And if he sold 10, he'd have to buy the other 2. One way or the other, they're going to book him, pay him nothing to $20, and they're going to get $240 and say, hey, look how we drew, man. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that they do. They don't draw organically, you know?
Yeah, and and I've actually heard people talk shit about us for wrestling in the space that we do, for having our little studio, but because we brought 100 people into a high school gym. Well, congratulations, how much did you make after you had to pay the school to rent out their space? When we at least have a space we can call our own, and the fact of the matter is we're not trying to draw huge, we're trying to bring back what was big back in the day, which was studio wrestling, AWA, NWA.
So let me address that while we're here, because I don't even know if you know this.
I probably don't. That's one reason I love doing this podcast. I learn something new every time.
Someday we'll do this whole thing, because I could do a year's worth of shit for what I know as production managers, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA Impact when it was on Spike, okay? I was the head of security, a whole bunch of other bullshit hats I wore. I didn't even know I was fucking wearing till whatever. But anyway, I ran that studio at Universal Studios, okay? I was the conduit between not Panda Energy, TNA Wrestling, Viacom, which was Spike, and Universal Studios. You know what I mean? When we started this thing, my thing was that there's no fucking way anybody's going to fill any motherfucking arenas, i.e. look at AEW today, you know? If you don't have the media avenues behind you that Vince does. And even Vince is probably struggling prior to Corona to fill the arenas because his focus wasn't on live events anymore, you know? Our shit was, I loved how I ran that studio and the things I did in that studio. When we came back here, I said, fuck that. I don't want to run these stupid buildings. This guy's got to be working every week, so we're going to run the training facility, work every week out of the studio. You know what I mean? My goal wasn't to do that. I know that it can be done and you can draw enough to justify your existence, but I had bigger plans for us, which is going to be the footage and the things that we're doing now. You see what I'm saying? So that was the reason why we did it. I'm done setting up the ring, tearing down the ring for fucking nothing. You know? I'm not going to force people to guilt their friends and family into coming in and supporting them. I don't think that's acceptable after you reach the Cub Scouts motherfucking pancake breakfast or the goddamn dance class or cheer camp for your daughters. You know what I mean? That's what it is. They basically strong arm and guilt them into going. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We are adults. You know what I mean? So that's why we do it. When everything's said and done, and this is another reason why, and we just talked about this, Justin, we appreciate the Patreon. Why we're trying to build the patron space is so we could add more money. If we had 2 more cameras, a little bit more for lighting and production quality, we are a wrestling company, okay? Everybody else is a male soap opera. Even the ones that claim to be wrestling companies are still dabbling in the male soap opera. Everybody who says we're anti-WWE is trying to do vignettes and backstage bullshit that looks very similar to Vince's to me. You know what I mean? You're still fucking a mark for WWE. We're not. We're a wrestling company. That's what we do. They go for 8 minutes. We go from 15 to 30 minutes. Compelling. More compelling than their 8 minutes, okay? With 2 more cameras, the right production equipment, and the right software, we're on fucking Axis. We're on fucking Stadium. Maybe we're on even bigger fucking avenues because that's what we wanted to do in the first place. And I wrestled in those studios. I wrestled in the Memphis studio. I think it was 75 people you could fit in there at the most. But goddamn it, we'd sell all those tickets Monday night in the goddamn Mid-South from it. You know what I mean? So that's why we do it. That's why we have a studio. Yeah. You know? And I also know it's going to take a while to get it to the point where that thing is full every week. And then you know what the goal is going to be, folks? To set up another studio. And it's going to be a training facility. And it's either going to be in Fox Lake or Rockford. Now we've got double and in some cases quadruple. Our guys are wrestling twice a week in front of a crowd, being agented by me. They're training in the ring twice a week in addition to that. What the fuck do you think these guys are going to look like in the caliber of their talent when we get to that point?
It's a beautiful, beautiful thought. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think we can do it, especially yes. Now that our Patreon is starting to take off, and that's the whole reason we're doing Patreon. I mean,
yeah.
You know, and I think our patrons are smart enough to know that we're not doing this and just putting the money into our own pockets.
Have I taken anything or busted your balls?
Oh, hell no.
Nope. There's a little money there. You know what I tell them when he tells hang on to it for now because I want to start doing this, which is investing back into our company. And we're going to get to this point now. I don't know if I think doing it that weekend might be a little much at this. It might be a big bite. But we've got to get high-speed internet in the studio so we can fucking bring you guys our shit live via Patreon. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to end up doing.
Yeah, and we're sorting that shit out right now. We're working out all the details. We're watching as many instructional videos as we can on YouTube.
Yeah, haven't I done well educating myself?
Oh, God, yeah.
Cool.
That's the other thing where you don't give yourself enough credit for your gray matter is when you get an idea, the first thing you do is you do the research.
Yeah.
You fact check it.
I try to, man, and then I try to do it from 2 or 3 different angles to look at it. My balls aren't as big as they once were, but I like to still take risks because you can't get anywhere without taking risks, and I wrestled that way. But the older you get, the more calculated your risks become.
Right.
So I look at best case, worst case. When I'm doing numbers, when they're doing averages and numbers, when it's 5.1, they say, well, that's 10. Or no, that's 6. Rand doesn't do that. Rand will go, well, if it's 5, let's go 4 because you never know what the fuck's going to happen. 4% instead of 5%. You never know what the fuck's going to happen and then look at it. You know what I mean? Then you're pleasantly surprised when it hits 6 because you were in your mind figuring out how to function at 4% rather than 6%. See what I mean?
Yeah. And so, we're grateful to you guys on Patreon because not only are you investing in our ability to bring you current content, you're investing in our ability to bring you future, more compelling, more, better produced content and more of a wide variety of ways to bring you that content.
Our company is great at bringing out the best in each other. Mm-hmm. That's what we're great at from inside the ring. That's what
sets us apart.
Yeah. And I think people are going to see that. Mm-hmm.
And and we've said it so many times before, we've had such a revolving door of talent, but to my knowledge, you've never actually kicked anyone out. Anyone who's ever had an ego or has been tried to be divisive or participate in any sort of backstabbing, they've shown themselves to the door eventually, or our guys show them to the door because our guys, they know each other, they trust each other, there's a bond there, and if anybody tries to disrupt that...
And it's a common thread or a common goal, No, I did tell somebody within the last year, you brought some fucking drama to the table, you were part of some heavy drama, let's take a break, But in the process of that break, they act like a jag-off. I'll never call them again.
No. No, and that's all you have to, I should say, not do.
Yeah.
Just give them a call. The thing is that all of our talent, they have their ambitions. Yeah. Tim Castle wants to go to Japan. I firmly believe he's going to get to Japan.
I think he's going to get the attention too.
The majority are there because they want to get to that big stage in WWE.
Or, you don't know this, but you might know this. There's 1 or 2 of them that actually are coming to me now saying, Justin, if we could get this shit to Cuban with 2 more cameras right now, and I'm going to go ahead and say $5,000 for software, memory, and a couple of lights, okay? We have something that I know I could bring and sell to Mark Cuban to put on Access.
You and I have talked about that before.
Well, we have talent saying that now.
Nice.
So when that happens, your happy ass and these 2 top guys' happy asses and me have a weekly paycheck out of that television. Outside of that, everything else goes into the production quality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And I know it. I know it would be produced proper and all that shit. But we got to get to that point, and I've been patient with that because I would say half of our roster is ready for something like that. But God's going to tell me when we're all ready for that.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean?
And
it's going to be a process. We just got to give it time.
Yeah.
But our guys, they all have their own personal ambitions.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they value teamwork above everything else. It's not what can I do to make myself look good. It's what can I do to make myself and everyone around me look good.
Dude, and that's honestly, when I was in the territories, that was working for the USWA for that 9 months every night, or I should say 8 times a week. That was the happiest time in my professional life. Driving 3,000 miles a week, working at least 8 times a week. Was so happy. You know what I mean? The camaraderie. People that I work with, like Kenny Wayne, that I didn't fucking talk to outside of a wrestling ring in the 20 years I know him. Running the roads with Sweet Daddy Falcone. Passing up Chris Champion, God rest his soul, as we stop and get for, like, you get 25-cent bogus Oreos and donuts. You know what I mean? So we'd and this fucking milk, and we'd, hey, there's Chris and whoever. And as I'd be sitting out the window at 85 miles an hour outside of Sweet Daddy's Chevy Sprint, whipping fucking donuts, trying to get the wind to take it and splatter that shit on his windshield. You know what I mean? Then, someone would stop to eat at the 1 or 2 Shoney's that were open, and then all of a sudden, God damn it, here comes Chris, and I'm not armed. You know what I mean? That shit was awesome. It was a great time and learned so much, The old-timers were jagoffs, but they weren't selfish jagoffs. They were trying to teach you something. You know what I mean? And protect our industry and teach us to protect and respect the industry.
Oh, yeah. And that's what you bring to the table over these so-called indie vets.
Yeah. And I've been there and done so much, as a performer, then working on the business end for TNA, some things with WCW, some things with ROH, and a whole hell of a lot in Puerto Rico as well. And the fact that, for I don't know how many years with no name recognition, I supported my $300,000 home and 5-person family from wrestling, the events that I was pimping. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, that's the difference. All right, let's wrap this son bitch up, huh?
All right. Just taking it home, I just want to say, and it's, again, not trying to suck your ass, but it's anyone who says anything against Rock and Randy Ritchie, they haven't done their research. Yeah. I'm not somebody who trusts people easily. I'm someone who, like him, I have to do my research before I put my faith in something. People ask me, Justin, you got a good voice. Why don't you go announce for other companies? Why don't you put your name out there and do some work for them?
You should be sending shit, or be ready to send your shit when you are ready to Vince. And
I've already made contact to someone who we mutually know works for WWE, but that's something I'm thinking about down the road. But anyway,
but not too far down the road to where you're 40 going, hey man, I woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I'm trying to get my shit together at 34.
Hey, that's the age you should be, man. There's a lot of 30 fucking 4-year-olds, and them that still live with mom and dad.
Yeah, and they were the smart ones.
At the end of the day, no. At the end of the day, no. By the time you assholes are 44, you'll see who's where and why it's good that you're doing what you're doing.
Good point. But anyway, what I was. Oh crap! I just completely blanked.
Talking about shit. Talking of Rand.
Oh yeah. This guy has a lot of stories. He says he's worked with all these people who are huge names and legendary in the business.
Savio, look, fucking Savio says, you got a podcast? Yeah, there's not many fucking people listening to it. Yeah, we're doing for Patreon. He goes, when did you hear me? When can I do it? Mm-hmm. That's what Rand has.
Yeah. But the reason I don't go to work for these other companies is because I don't trust the majority of them. No. I know the kind of and I've worked for some other companies. I've worked for some other companies because you pushed me to do it so I could see what the industry was like outside of our little studio. And the fact of the matter is, I don't trust most of the promoters out there.
Yeah.
People ask Justin, why do you keep working for Rand and nowhere else? It's because he's never given me a reason to doubt him. Anything he's told me, the people he's known, the places he's worked, I've gone, done my own research, and everything pans out.
Yeah, it doesn't sound realistic sometimes, especially to today's fan, today's educated fan, and today's dickhead fan. But I love when a dickhead goes out to try to disprove a story or a claim or something that I even forget I made, and then they come back and go,
Hence the CM Punk story we told last week.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so that's... If anybody ever has questions about that, just do your research. You'll see where this guy has been and why he says the things that he says, and why guys like me and guys like Matt Vine and guys like Chase
guys
Gosling,
like Marty still loves me. I know it.
And guys like Inestra, our core guys on the roster, trust him with training, and we take him at his word because he's never given us a reason to doubt him. Okay, I'm done kissing your ass now.
No, that's nice. A little smoochy do.
I think you need it every now and then.
Oh, I do something every now and then. Helps me keep pushing, you know. No, I don't expect it. But, you know, I give you a lot of respect. And, you know, I just want that back in return. And you fucking do that. And you help me in ways that you don't know, too, to stay pumped, to keep pushing, you know. It's hard. We're pushing through that thing right now. Where is this fucking podcast worth it? But you're working harder on it than I am, truth be known.
And you know what? It's not even a lot of extra work because when you do something you love, and you know, I'm not talking out my ass here. I love the wrestling business. I've loved the wrestling business since I first saw a professional wrestling match. So the fact that I'm able to do this, it doesn't matter if I'm putting in, you know, 6 to 8 hours on my day off editing video, editing the podcast. It doesn't feel like work.
See, that's fucking
love
great. And that's what you brought to the table. And this is what I mean about bringing something to the table, you know? People think like, how's this automatic money appear? When you fucking have to run, you've made a commitment. You have a commitment, people depending on you, fans, young talent, to do this every fucking Saturday and twice a month, you know, Friday and Saturday once a month. You have that commitment. Where the fuck do people think this money's going to come from? You know what I mean? I'm not doing you no fucking favors because nobody did no favors for me. I earned every fucking thing I had, you know, in the industry. And it was, people come to you and say this and say that and make a lot of the claims that you make, but you could tell the lack of integrity in that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, and there's no way to trace it.
With you, well, I have a good... I do have a pretty good sense of bullshit, and I could tell with you. That's why I said, yeah, go out there and work here and there. I didn't say dick. Within 6 months, you're like, this fucking sucks. This is amateur night. You know what I mean? And I was like, right on. I was hoping that's what would happen.
Yeah. And I mean, to play devil's advocate, I mean, I didn't walk in and the first match I was like, oh, this is crap.
No,
I saw some good stuff. I really did.
It's not about that, and that's another waste. Is that you can't polish a fucking turd. You're known by the company that you keep.
Yep.
You know, so the other thing is you saw some good stuff, but
at the end of the day, it boils down to trust. It's like,
yeah.
and the fact of the matter
and open-mindedness.
Is there the same feeling here that I get from the team at Premier Pro Wrestling?
And the traction.
It just wasn't there. It wasn't there.
And the traction. You want to talk about get your name out there, man. We got 40,000 fucking subscribers almost. They don't know your fucking name and know your fucking voice, Justin.
Yeah, 40,000. I always say 40,000 people look at this skinny dweeb with glasses every single week, and people out. And there's other people who act like they're the hottest shit going, who don't even have their own YouTube channel. They're piggybacking off of somebody else's.
That's what I'm saying. You know? And at the end of the day, you can do the indies till you die, and you're not going to get your name out there like 40,000 subscribers. You know?
Yeah. So you can ask guys like Mick Foley. You can ask guys like Jerry Jarrett. Is it worth listening to Randy Ritchie? Yes, it is, and I've learned that from experience too, because you've never given me a single piece of advice that has steered me wrong when it comes to trying to put out compelling content, which is what this is about. And I don't stick around somewhere for 7 years and quote unquote waste my time.
I can't either, man. I can't either. That's why I stick with it. You know, 8 years ago, I was done after the burnout from TNA and the horrible waste when I really thought we had everything we needed to fucking make a viable alternative. And then, the crash and burn in Puerto Rico based a lot upon the economy and the cultural differences. I was like, I'm done with wrestling. I got to handle this divorce and focus on getting custody of my youngest with special needs. But I got sucked back in, and I'd be lying if I didn't say, is this fucking worth it? But I look at your dumb face, or Vine's dumb face, or Nestra's dumb face, or many of the dumb young faces and think about, I can't crush them like that. If I fucking quit, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? And also, the example that I set for my children and you guys about tenacity, man, 'cause that's what it takes. If you want to be something in this industry, you have to have tenacity. I don't care if you want to hold a motherfucking camera, if you want to be creative, if you want to be voice, if you want to be an announcer, if you want to commentate, you have to have tenacity. You can't be a jagoff, but that tenacity that you show is going to set you aside from other people. And you're talking to somebody who said Vince McMahon come up to him himself at least twice when I was working there off and on and told me, I just wanted you to know I notice and appreciate what you do for this company. That's huge. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that, so where I was going with this is to end this podcast this week. This is all about teamwork. Teamwork between me and Rand, teamwork between Rand and the roster, teamwork between me and the roster. It's all intertwined.
And also you guys, the co-producers.
Mm-hmm. And exactly. You guys are as much a part of the team as all of us are.
Yep.
Without you and without your support, like Rand said, we don't know. We would have no idea where to go next because we wouldn't know where to get the support from. But because you guys show your faith in us, now we're able to say, okay, this is picking up steam. Eventually we're going to be able to invest more in our content and not only bolster ourselves, but bring you more compelling content as a reward for your faith.
Well, it's coming soon, and hopefully maybe we'll have to put our heads together, but it's coming fucking real soon where you'll be able to watch us Saturday nights live.
Yeah.
And the absolute most delay you would have is 40 seconds.
and is there a word for being both nervous as hell and completely excited about it? Because that's what I feel like.
Why are you nervous?
For our first venture into live stream, and I know there's going to be some bugs to work out. More than that, though, I am beyond excited that we're doing this because I can't think of another, oh God, forgive me for dropping the word, indie company in the area that's doing live streaming.
Well, I want to do it first, and again, on a professional platform, not just like some bogus-ass, free-ass YouTube shit. You know what I mean? I want to do it on a professional level and use a professional platform like Patreon to do so, you know? And I want to do it quick before other people figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't feel fear for it as much as I feel stress for it, you know?
Yeah.
Because you guys are going to be all fucking nervous and shit. Talent. I'm going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
On top of my own bullshit.
You know, I'm giving you the heads up right now. You're going to have to be the emotional anchor that first night that we do it, especially.
Yeah. Me and my PTSD and depression are all the emotional anchor. Actually, though, I am pretty good at that shit. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, with all that, we thank you guys for hanging in for what became the longest podcast we've ever done. But you know what? We talked about some great stuff today.
And we're being real with you. I know you know the difference. Like it says, like they say, 2020, people got a nose for bullshit. And what sells is reality and not bullshit reality. This is the reality, you know?
Yeah, and we know you guys wouldn't be investing your money, especially now when a lot of people are still out of work and a lot of you are probably still struggling, into something that you think is bullshit. So we're eternally grateful for you guys, and stay tuned. That's all we can say is just stay tuned, keep that faith, and please give us feedback. Give us feedback. On the one hand, it's nice that we haven't had anybody crawl up our ass on Patreon about things, but on the other hand, we need to open that door again and say, listen, if you guys have any feedback for us, as long as you're not a dick about it.
Yeah, or questions, shit you want to talk about, or questions about my circle, you know, my circle of friends and shit.
Hit us with it. This isn't just a conversation between me and Rand. You guys can be a part of the conversation, too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You know what, too? Hit me up with your, you believe it or not, you know this. I'm a fucking savant when it comes to wrestling and the child rearing. If you have any child rearing questions, hit me up, man. I'm a fucking genius.
Oh, God, yeah. And if you guys...
you with babies, man. I'm the shit.
If you guys have not come to a live show and met Rand's daughter, Gianna...
Oh, I love her.
Or if you haven't met... No, I've never met your oldest, but I've met
she's in Montana.
I've met...
the Booch.
Yeah, I've met two of your three daughters, and I mean, if you don't think the man's a savant of parenting with all of his issues, just look at how his two younger daughters turned out. They are gems in this world.
You know where a lot of that comes from is my grandmother, who I'm going to say, if anybody raised me, it would be her. I left home right before my 15th birthday, and I was out for a year and a half or so. But anyway, I learned a lot from her, and I learned a lot from watching my great auntie Bina, who helped raise the 13 kids that my great grandma had.
Jesus.
You know that last week I called my auntie Bina, and she's still pretty fucking sharp at 93 years old.
Jeez.
I know, man. Isn't that fucking cool? So yeah, I learned a lot from that shit and retained it. You know.
Yeah. So please interact with us.
Yes.
The forum is wide open. Don't feel like you have to be nervous about asking us anything.
But don't be a dick either.
That's the only rule. That's the only rule.
Yes.
If you want to disagree with us about something,
that's cool.
There's a difference between disagreeing and coming at us like, you know, you have all the facts straight and you know things. Yeah. If you disagree with us about something, let's debate. Let's not argue.
Yeah, that's pretty. I like that. I don't want to play that shit because so much energy burned between left and right. Oh my god! I went and deleted some stuff that I posted last night when someone attacked me online this morning. You know, fuck that. I don't have to have the last word. Delete. I felt better about myself.
You know what I started doing on social media just to keep the couple ounces of emotional health that I still have. Is if I feel like I need to say something, if I feel like I need to comment on a post and get my opinion, get my perspective out there, I'll do it. But then any notification I get, whether it's a reply or a react, I delete it from my notifications because I don't want to get sucked back into it.
Oh, it's a horrible waste of energy.
Well, and I think it's so pitiful that in 2020 we have to be somebody has to post on Facebook and spread it around that we can disagree and still get along.
Yeah, character assassination is uncalled for. All right, folks. Thanks again. We'll fucking talk to you next week.
For PP, what is next week? It's podcast 22, and by all means, come out on Saturday. And it's the last stop on the way to PPW 300, which is coming your way a week from this Saturday on the 27th. So.
Right on.